distinguished guests on the dais, Dr. Narayanan, Dr. Meenati Pillai, Professor I. Shanmugadas, and my dear friends, I should thank Dr. Jaya for the kind words she spoke about all of us. Thank you, Jaya. And although there has been a formal welcome, I am very happy to welcome you all to this conference on this rainy morning. We are particularly happy that in spite of the rains, you have come here in large numbers, thanks to the main speakers here, and that you are waiting for that. I'll be brief in the sense that I'll confine myself to a very brief, of course, Jaya has given us some idea of what the Center for English Studies and Research has been doing during the past 16 years. And it was the eminent Indian English poet, K.K. and Darubala, who inaugurated our research center, if you may call it a research center, our center in 2006. I still remember the beautiful inaugural address he gave us. So we were trying to tell him that, like in most other places, we too felt that there's a need for a forum to discuss what is happening in the world of literature everywhere, and particularly in English. And so some of us, myself, my esteemed friend and colleague, Professor I. Shanmugadas and Dr. Nandakumar, it's very sad to remember that Dr. Nandan, who was a solid pillar of the Center for English Studies and Research, passed away a few years ago. He used to, so we thought we should have a forum where we could discuss major developments, major trends in literature. And one area where we concentrated was that those of our colleagues and our young friends who did research in several areas, in most cases, after the open defense, nobody ever heard of what was happening in that area, except for those who participated in the open defense. So we felt that we could give them a broader platform from where students could benefit, teachers could benefit, and that was a major achievement and very fruitful, because during the past 16 years, looking back, I find that we gave platform for these PhD holders. I have the program notice with me. More than 76 PhD theses have been discussed in our platforms. And I mean, some people, and it is, and as it always happens, we couldn't confine ourselves to that. We fanned out to other areas. We used to invite almost everyone coming to Trichy to give a lecture at our gathering. Dr. Narayanan here, and my friend Sachidanand, then Anita Nair, Jayashree Mishra, Rajakrishnan. So many of them have been here at our meetings, to talk to us. But while we were discussing these ideas with KK and Darubala, he was listening, but finally what he told me was very I mean, something that all of us should bear in mind, all of us should do something, rather we should sit up and think seriously about what he was telling us. He said, this is not my concern. I mean, that you must do. But I tell you, he said, Kerala is a very literate state. Unfortunately, I find that there are very few creative writers in English from this state. Even backward states like Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, we have significant, outstanding writers writing in English. Why is it that this state, which has so many, he says, you are all very good at handling this language and you know so much. But why don't you come to, why don't we have poets writing in English, Indian English poets from Kerala, those who are known everywhere? That was one area he said we should focus, and I think we should still do it. We should have. Another area that he suggested was, he said, translation. I find so many outstanding major works in different languages, even in Tamil, getting translated beautifully into English. But I go to bookshops in Delhi and several areas, and I ask them, please show me what are the translated works from Malayalam novels and Malayalam poetry. He said he was a poet, you know. He is a poet, sorry. Then he said, unfortunately, again, I find that the record is not very encouraging. So he said, your center must focus on these two areas. I confess, we have not been very successful in that, but the transfer of responsibility or enthusiastic, we have a large group of young enthusiastic team, you know, boys and girls, young men and women, coming forward to do, materialize the dreams of so many well-wishers, and that could still be done. That's one thing which I wanted to stress. Secondly, when we decided upon this redefining the modernist peak, again, our own friends asked us, why is it that you are going in for this a discussion on these two major works? Modernism is dead. Why should you celebrate the burial of the dead? I said, rather we said, of course, it's not because the wasteland and Ulysses are major landmarks in the history of world literature. It is not because they are so outstanding, so significant, but more importantly, for us and for a whole generation of the 1950s and 60s and even into 70s, before the onset of literary theory and cultural materialism, for so many of us, this long poem has been a passion. It has been much more than a passion that maybe because we were coming from rural background, you know, and when we first, and in the 1968, 66, 67, 68 and 69, there were turbulent years everywhere. The campus, the university campus revolt in Paris, the Vietnam War, the food crisis in India, several campuses in our own state and in other places, those campuses were on fire. I think nowadays students have become very quiet, very calm, very subdued. Honestly speaking, I don't know the reason why they have become so very obedient. The rebelliousness that we saw, that we found in those years, maybe they are not necessary, I shouldn't say that. But in the late 1960s, we were rebels. We were like the slave in a Michelangelo sculpture, struggling to break the chains, because the dreams of a free India, the Nehru era, the euphoria was over, and all dreams had collapsed. And so we thought that, and we suddenly, and the wasteland dropped upon us like a bang, not with a whimper. It was there. It was our first exposure to cosmopolitan poetry. It was our first exposure to urban poetry. It was our first exposure to something radically different. Here is something that changes your perspective. Here is something that gives you new ways of seeing. Here is something that teaches you that, well, there are more things between heaven and earth than what you have dreamed of. Things are different. And then the wasteland addressed us, It was not new wine in an old bottle. The old bottle had burst. And the poet gave us something, and a torrent of images, We had never seen it. Something, those images, what can I say? Dancing in rhythm before us like stars on a starry night. Things were, and we knew that it was not a representation of a civilization, a culture in ruins, not alone. It was, of course, I think very, very gifted, outstanding speakers are here to tell you about those things. But I thought that there was something. I must the multiple perspectives, because we could see that the Cubist paintings of Picasso were finding a parallel poetic response in words. What we could call, and so we were wondering, why is it that all the trends in world, trends in painting, trends in sculpture, trends in music, why is it that we don't have a work of art that reflects all these fantastic movements? And then Eliot spoke to us. And as he said, as he himself has said, great poetry, or not great, genuine. Genuine poetry communicates before it is understood. Like a Hindi film, Hindi song which we enjoy without understanding its meaning, Eliot's The Wasteland spoke to us. And one moment we were with Ferdinand walking around on a beach, those were pearls that were his eyes. And the next moment, unreal city and people, faceless people walking on London Bridge. Like that, you are thrown from post to pillar and pillar to post. And there is no romantic imagination. It was very, very intellectual. We were literally bombarded by a new kind of poetry, reshaping your approach to not merely to poetry, to your life also. And that's why I am saying that, well, even in those days, in our classroom, we had young friends, nice people they were, but who said that, look, whatever the Westerner says, finally he has to come to India to say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We smiled. We didn't quarrel with them, but he was like that, this this combination of the clownish and the solemn and the very, very serious, and all these things, this rich tapestry, this arabesque, so beautifully combined in a poetic structure, that was his greatness. So today, when we think back upon, of course, there's another continent, another ocean when we think of Ulysses, but that we can discuss tomorrow, right, later. So, my dear friends, we are going to listen to beautiful speeches from two of my closest friends. Thank you very much in particular. And my Dr. Narayanan has come specially for this. He has been sick for quite a few days, and yesterday he was running temperature, but he thought he should attend this. And Dr. Meena, you have been particularly kind, because she woke up at 2 o'clock early in the morning in pouring rain to board a train to come and attend our conference. So, this conference will be over in 2 days. But, my friends, come again and attend our meetings. Our meetings, our gatherings, the special quality of our association, our center is that people call it CESR, Caesar, but there is nothing Caesarous about it. Ours is a very egalitarian, very free. There is no hierarchy. We have no leaders and no followers. As Albert Camus said, we believe in Camus' dictum. That is, don't walk behind me because I am not a leader. Don't walk in front of me because I am not a follower. Walk with me, hand in hand, like a friend. We wouldn't conquer the whole world, but we will conquer something. We will conquer a few things, and that, to some extent, could make your life, our associations in life, that could give us give us freedom. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.